To no one's surprise, Yi ended up extremely OP after his 12.13 buffs, so hotfix nerfs have already hit live servers. Sivir and Neela are both completely insane right now, so the meta has seen a big shift down in the bot lane. We've got a ton to cover in this tier list update as there are many new emerging trends, and we'll be breaking it all down thanks to the help of our challenger players and analyzing the most recent data. But before we get into it, be sure to check out SkillCapped if you want to truly get better at League of Legends. We're the only service that offers a money-back guarantee if you don't climb at least 5 divisions while actively using our service. We do this because our service really does work, and if it doesn't work for you, you shouldn't pay. Learn more at the end of this video or click the link in the description below. One of the biggest winners up in the top lane for 12.13 has been Jax. If you guys watched our pre-patch tier list and saw the Divine Sunderer segment, you would know that the Divine Changes were pretty heavy buffs. Riot made it sound like the changes were nerfs in the patch notes, but it's only a nerf later in the game against tanks. Jax's win rate has actually shot up over 1% this patch, so evidently the changes are helping him more than hindering. As a result of Jax finding a nice boost in strength, we will be moving him from A into S for mid-patch. Riot overshot with the Gwen buff, so they have gone ahead and issued a couple hotfix nerfs. Gwen's base health is lowered from 660 to 620. Passive healing from damage against champions has dropped from 60 to 50%. Our cooldown has been increased from 100 scaling to 80 seconds to 120 scaling to 80 seconds. Evidently, these nerfs are to further combat Gwen's strong laning power. Despite these nerfs, Gwen will remain in a stronger state than she was in 12.12, so she'll be placed in our A tier. Darius is going to be holding down the only OP tier slot for the top lane in 12.13. Many strong S tier picks follow in behind, and we're especially high on any champions that can abuse Divine Sunderer. Other than Jax, Wukong and Camille are two notables who have seen a rise in power this patch due to the added early to mid-game power Divine offers. With the lethality mythic buffs coming in, it's given even more strength to the Eclipse Rush on Aatrox. Over 50% of players are still building Gore Drinker on Aatrox, but for solo queue especially, Eclipse is the better option for the majority of games. The armor pen from Eclipse helps a ton post-durability update, and you go into Black Cleaver second to really shred the enemy's resists. Our highest priority low elo top lane picks are Garen, Mordekaiser, and Yorick. Great value bans for 12.13 include Fiora, Mordekaiser, and Darius. The jungler with the biggest rise this patch was not actually Master Yi, as Fiddlesticks has become so much stronger. We knew the buffs would be big, but a 4% win rate boost was not expected. Fiddle's R damage was increased a ton at rank 1, and his point-and-click fear had its duration increased as well. These changes actually work extremely well in tandem because the longer the enemy is feared, the more damage Fiddle is able to get off with ult. If you're looking for an AP jungler in 12.13, Fiddle is the pick, as he will be moving into our OP tier. Alright, let's talk about these Master Yi hotfix nerfs. Riot has lowered Yi's base AD and AD growth. Q cooldown is increased by 2 seconds at all ranks, while W damage reduction is down by 15% per rank. All things considered, Yi remains drastically stronger than he was in 12.12 despite these hotfix nerfs, so no reason to drop him. The only difference is that before these nerfs, Yi was the most OP jungler of the patch, but he will now fall into a strong S tier standing. We theorized in the pre-patch tier list that some off-tank builds would become stronger for Yi, and that has been the case so far. Sunfire Aegis slotted in third works super well right now. You still build Blade of the Ruined King first and Rageblade second, but pick up Sunfire third for some added durability and stronger teamfight power. The jungle OP tier will feature Fiddle, Diana, and Wukong midway through 12.13. Although Wukong was recently nerfed and moved into S tier, he's right back up into OP for mid-patch due to Divine buffs. As we mentioned when covering top lane, the Divine Changes are buffs for the majority of the game. It's not until later on where it becomes a nerf, so your snowball power is much better now. OP picks from previous patches like Bel'Veth and Volibear were nerfed enough to remove their OP standing, but they're still really strong S tier options. Besides Fiddle and Elise, all the other AP jungle buffs have turned out quite underwhelming. Evelynn has actually seen her win rate drop after the changes, which is something you rarely see, so there may be some sort of bug going around right now. Our top 3 low elo recommendations for jungle are Amumu, Master Yi, and Shyvana. Yi, Wukong, and Diana are the best jungle bans of the patch. Mid lane has some pretty interesting new trends for 12.13, the first being a resurgence of Taliyah as a result of her buffs. Pros have been spamming Taliyah in solo queue, and most are really liking the summoner combination of Flash and Ghost. Ghost combined with Taliyah's passive allows her to zoom around the map and impact other lanes better than most mid laners. First Strike is also seeing more priority over Electrocute in higher elo, as it's super easy for Taliyah to proc off cooldown. We'll be moving Taliyah back into our S tier for mid patch. We mentioned the potential of Night Harvester on Sylas last patch, and another champion who's heavily underrated with the item is Galio. Harvester is outperforming Everfrost in every single elo bracket right now, but it's only being played in around 10% of games. Players are really sleeping on the item because not only was Harvester recently buffed, but Everfrost was nerfed at the same time. More burst coming out of Night Harvester and some extra ability haste, which helps Galio a ton in the mid game. The tier list for mid lane consists of Sylas, Victor, Swain, and Anivia as the OP picks. Sylas has been a really interesting pick to track as of recent because he's got so many different build and rune setups going around. Pros have been transitioning away from Conqueror over to First Strike on Sylas. By running Inspiration with Resolve secondary, your early laning is much stronger than with Precision. Sylas is also a champ who thrives off item spikes and has a really strong mid game, so the extra gold from First Strike along with running free boots accelerates that spike really nice. Vex is another notable who has seen a considerable push up the tier list thanks to her buffs. Ever since the Everfrost nerfs, Luden's has been heavily outperforming as Vex is mythic, yet 50% of players continue to build Everfrost. Luden's players are winning a whole 3% more, so unless you really need the peel power from Everfrost to kite dive comps, prioritize Luden's more often. Veigar, Malz, and Annie are our top 3 low elo picks for the patch. Best bans to consider are Sylas, Victor, or Kassadin. Nilah has been everything you would expect and then some out of a new champion release from Riot in Season 12. You would have thought Riot learned from Mordekaiser that giving a champion bonus XP in a duo lane wasn't very healthy, but turns out they forgot. 7 different hotfix nerfs have already been released to try and combat Nilah's power level. Base health and base armor have been lowered. Passive heal increase has gone from 10 to 7.5%. Passive shield increase dropped from 20 to 15%. Q empowered attacks has been lowered from 110 to 100% total AD. Q empowered bonus attack speed is down from 15 scaling to 65% to 10 scaling to 60%. Finally, E recharge rate is lowered at the earlier ranks. Prior to these nerfs, Nilah was a top 3 solo queue ADC, but as a result of the changes, she will be falling down to a more balanced state and be placed in our A tier. Taric with Nilah is an extremely broken duo lane right now if you're looking to play something new. Due to her shorter range and more aggressive playstyle, run Exhaust instead of Heal. 40% of players are running Heal, but are winning 2% less than Exhaust users. As for the build, Shield Bow is the best mythic for most games as you really need the durability. Essence Reaver, Phantom Dancer, and the Collector are all viable second options, while Infinity Edge slots in third. Conqueror is Nilah's best keystone, and you'll want to dip into Resolve for secondary, running Second Wind and Revitalize. Sivir mini rework has resulted in her play rate and win rate absolutely skyrocketing in 12.13. Hotfix nerfs have already been pushed to live servers, so let's have a look at what was changed. Q base damage has been lowered by 10 at all ranks. W mana cost was bumped up from 60 at all ranks to 60 scaling to 80. W cooldown has been increased from 10 to 12 seconds. This new Sivir is all about the relentless DPS potential from W, so Q nerfs aren't the end of the world. W nerf definitely stings a little bit, but there's no way these nerfs are enough to push Sivir from a top tier standing. If anything, W nerf just means Essence Reaver priority becomes higher, which is perfectly fine as the item actually outperforms Phantom Dancer stat-wise. Kraken is the best mythic for most games, second item is either PD or Essence Reaver, and Infinity Edge slots in third. Rune Page is exactly what you'd expect with Lethal Tempo as the keystone and Inspiration for secondaries. We have Sivir and Seraphine as the most optimal bot lane carries. Twitch and Jhin moved down for mid-patch as they just aren't on the same level as Sivir. The Eclipse nerf for ranged champions did not result in as much of a power drop as we expected, so Misfortune is being moved back into S tier. The best low elo bot lane carries you can play are Veigar, MF, and Seraphine. Seraphine, Sivir, and Nilah are on top of the ban list for 12.13. Not only has Fiddle Jungle made a push up the tier list this patch, but support Fiddle has as well. You're pretty much just playing for the level 6 on Fiddle support, but when you hit it, the 2v2 potential is massive. If you can pick Fiddle with an ADC like Jhin, Misfortune, or Twitch, who all have strong long-range follow-up, you're going to be a nightmare for the enemy team. MF ult combined with Fiddle's buffed ult is a 2v5 machine. If you're going to play Fid support, look into banning out a strong peel support like Janna, as she can easily disrupt your engage potential. Fiddlestick support will be placed in our A tier as a very good yet underrated pickup for 12.13. Support was the role with the least amount of changes for 12.13, so the tier list stays intact. Renata Glask stands above all else in the OP tier. Senna stood alongside Renata for many patches, but with recent direct nerfs and the Eclipse nerfs this patch, she is no longer a premier support pick. Pyke is the lone support who moved up our tier list as the lethality mythic buffs have provided him a small boost in strength. Leona is no longer one of the worst solo queue supports, but even after her buffs, she's still outperformed by most. Not as much of a troll pick anymore, but Amumu, Blitz, or Taric are all miles better if you want to play a melee engage support. Seraphine, Brand, or Zyra are all amazing low elo support options. The most optimal support bans are Renata Glask, Yuumi, or Pyke. Alright guys, before we wrap this up, let's tell you a little more about SkillCapped. So, we offer a 5-division rank up guarantee, and think that's a pretty crazy thing to offer. It's like a gym membership guaranteeing you'll get ripped. Your local gym would go bust if they offered that, right? Not us. We've offered this for years because our service really does work. It works so well, in fact, that we're able to produce by far the largest catalog of premium league guides on the internet. We add over 20 videos a week, with over 1,600 guides curated into over 100 courses no one can compare. We've also sent challenger players into Elo Hell 714 times and counting, where they commentate how to carry live. They also respond to all questions asked. Sign up today for as little as $6.99 a month if you are serious about improving. So that's going to be it for our 12.13 mid-patch tier list update. Thanks so much for watching, good luck in solo queue, and we'll see you in the next one.